Hello and welcome to this week's live stream here on Life as a Cancer Survivor. For those of you that are joining me for the first time, let me introduce myself. My name is Jelena and I was diagnosed with stage 3 colorectal cancer or stage 3 rectal cancer in May of 2016. As my treatment plan, I went through 28 days of oral chemotherapy and radiation. Then I had a lower anterior resection, also known as LAR surgery. And during that surgery, I had 12 inches of my colon/rectum removed. I had 17 of my lymph nodes removed. And then I also had an ileostomy created to give that sewn together or resected site of my colon and rectum a chance to heal and make sure that there wasn't any stool leaking out. An ileostomy, for those of you that are unfamiliar, is where a part of your small intestine, it's run out of your abdominal wall and your waste exits your body through a stoma that's created from that small intestine instead of your waste coming out of your body through your rear end. And then you wear a bag over that stoma that's been created so that you're not just spewing stool out of your stomach 24/7. Well, I had that ileostomy. I had it for 7 months, and during that time, I went through 8 rounds of the IV chemotherapy FOLFOX and had the ileostomy reversed in June of 2017. So today, I'm going to be talking all about and answering any questions that you have about palliative care, which was my most recent video that I published. If you have any questions right now, go on ahead and drop those into the chat so then we can get right into them after I finish up my introduction here, my little beginning chat. Yvette, she was going to join us for this live stream, but she had another round of chemotherapy on Monday. They mixed up her meds a little bit, or they are trying something new, and she wasn't feeling up for it today. So we'll miss her, and I'll do my best to answer the questions that you have based on what I've learned from her and from my research for the video. But if there are any questions that I'm unable to answer, I'll let you know. I'll look them up and do my best to find answers for you, and I'll drop them in the comments for this video, which this video will be published as soon as YouTube is done with getting it all set up and whatnot. Within a day, this should be live up on my page in case you join late or want to go back and rewatch it or have somebody that wants to join us. But really quick, also, before we get started, I want to let you all know that today is Ostomy Awareness Day. So people all around the world are celebrating. If you're an ostomate, go on ahead and drop me a smiley face emoji in the chat or let me know how long that you have had your ostomy. If you're unfamiliar with what an ostomy is, here are some pictures of me with my ileostomy while I explain to you what it is. So that you aren't basically pooping all over the place. So a colostomy is the same, except it's your large intestine that they have running out of your abdominal wall instead of the small intestine. And for a urostomy, that's so that your urine can exit your body through a stoma, and the stoma is actually created from your small intestine for a urostomy. So let's go on ahead and let's get started with our chat here. Okay, so let's go on ahead and let's get started. So the first thing, I had some questions in my video comments as to whether or not that I plan on taking advantage of palliative care now that I've done this video and I've learned more about it. So keep in mind that I have been out of active treatment for over 3 years now. So my answer for now is no, I'm not going to, because there aren't really any side effects that are issues that I'm experiencing that I haven't already been connected with professionals that can help me with those. But just because my answer is no for right now doesn't mean that it is no forever. Definitely, if I have a recurrence, I will certainly be taking advantage of palliative care and asking about it. Or if I have new side effects that I start experiencing that are kind of out of the scope of realm of any of the doctors that I'm currently connected with, I might reach out to see if I can take advantage of palliative care through my oncologist's office. But addressing side effects now, it's a little bit trickier than it was when I was still in treatment. So, for example, last May, when I called my oncologist's office because I was having panic attacks daily, and they started on the anniversary of my diagnosis. So they said that since I wasn't in active treatment, that they couldn't help me and I needed to contact a regular doctor. So after that experience, I kind of feel like it would be hard for me to convince them that whatever side effect or issue that I was experiencing would be directly related to my treatment. And they'd continue to just kind of brush me aside and tell me to go to a regular doctor for any problems that I have right now. So that's kind of my stance on palliative care right now, being out of treatment. Another thing, let's see, looking back at the beginning of my cancer journey when I was first diagnosed, I kind of wish that palliative care had been explained a little better, and that I would have been connected with a social worker right off the bat and had some follow-up with that person. Because I did see a social worker either after like my dry run of radiation or after my first day, and I talked to that person for a little bit, and they just kind of said, you know, these are things that we have to offer. If I need to talk, I can go and talk to her, but I never saw her again. So granted, she was only in the office like 2 or 3 days a week, so maybe that is also why no one really pushed really hard for me to take advantage of going in regularly to see a social worker or connect with palliative care, because maybe my cancer center just didn't have the resources and the staff to be able to assist every cancer patient. So I think for patients that really don't know what to expect or what to ask for, having somebody on your team like a palliative care person would be really helpful to kind of look out for you beyond like what is going on in your normal regimen of cancer treatment care. So like as far as my treatment went, times that it would have been nice to have had a palliative care person there kind of guiding me along my way, would have been like after all of my surgeries, it would have been really helpful to have had somebody recommend that I get started with some physical therapy, because after abdominal surgery, like your abs are what are protecting your back from getting hurt. So when those are ripped up and cut open for surgeries, your back isn't protected anymore. So you're much more vulnerable to hurting your back. And like if you get a knee replacement or hip replacement surgery, it's second nature. You're automatically like put into some physical therapy after that. So I'm not sure why that wasn't kind of an automatic thing when I was going through surgery. So that would have been helpful for me to have prevented me from getting hurt over and over again and wondering why. It also would have been helpful having the palliative care there. After I had my reversal surgery, it would have been helpful to have somebody connect to me like with a gastroenterologist that specialized in helping people get through that reversal process, and having a professional with me guiding me through like trial and error, what's going to work and what isn't going to work, instead of me just kind of guessing and turning to the internet and what other people are working on and just guessing as to what is going to help me. And then another time where having palliative care would have been helpful through my treatment process is when I was having the panic attacks. It would have been helpful to have had somebody that I could turn to that could have guided me as to what I needed to do to get help for my mental health troubles, because I hadn't had mental health issues before, so I didn't realize how difficult it was to get help for something like that. So having somebody like on my side trying to help me that's like on the inside of the medical world that could have guided me through that, could have helped at least make me feel better that somebody actually was trying to help me find solutions rather than being turned away by office after office when I was trying to get help. Let's see. So we have in our chat here, we've got Sharon. You've had Ostomy for 16 years. Wow, awesome. I'm sure you're pretty experienced with everything in there now, and you've got your system down, and you know your appliances and everything. Let's see. We've got Liv here. Have you ever doubted the treatment? Like the full treatment that I went through, like the radiation and chemotherapy and all of that? Is that what you're referencing, Liv? Let me know, but I'll answer, assuming that that's what you meant, that you're wondering if I ever doubted what I went through for that. So no, I haven't ever doubted going through the radiation and the chemotherapy, doing the surgeries, even doing my ileostomy reversal surgery. Because for me, I am still cancer-free 3 years later, have no evidence of the disease. So in my case, it seems as though, it seems like it worked for me. I don't have any evidence of cancer, even though it is a pretty brutal year of treatment. It got me more years of life. So I don't ever doubt it or regret going through the treatment, and even like the ileostomy reversal surgery, even with the troubles that I still have from time to time with my bathroom issues, I still don't regret reversing my ileostomy either. I was having a lot of like allergy issues with the adhesive and it sticking to my stomach. So I was kind of glad to get rid of that. If I knew that I was going to have it longer, then I would have tried to fix those problems. But since it was really close to when I was going to get it reversed, I just dealt with the raw skin and everything. Let's see. Can I give advice in dealing with insurance? I don't have any huge advice other than, you know what? You can check with like your cancer center's office. Typically, they'll have financial advisors, or not necessarily financial advisors. They've got people in the office that work with insurance, and we actually sat down and had a meeting with someone. I don't remember at what part. It was probably at the very beginning of when I was going through treatment, and they kind of talked to us about like they had our insurance info and walked us through like kind of how much that we could expect to be paying for this. They talked about different options, payment plans that would be available. So if you're having troubles with getting things approved, I would check with your oncologist office and see if they can work with you, if you can talk to somebody there and they can kind of help be on your side and fight for treatments or whatever that you're having troubles with as far as insurance and getting them to pay it for you. Maybe they can kind of give you some help as well. Okay, let's see. What other questions do we have here? Okay. You're welcome. And let's see, as I mentioned, today is World Ostomy Day. So there are lots of people around the world today, and it's also Ostomy Awareness Day, trying to promote more awareness for ostomies because people don't know a whole lot about it. I wasn't familiar with ostomies before I had my ostomy surgery. And so it was a new thing, and I didn't realize so many people had ostomies, that there were multiple different types of ostomies. And so it's a great day for us to learn more about what exactly it is, realize that there are people all around us that we may not even realize have ostomies, are wearing them because they're pretty well hidden, especially if someone's had it for a while. They're really good at, they know kind of how to disguise it. They don't smell at all. So, I mean, you might experience that they don't ever fart at all. You don't have any weird smells happening because of the ostomy. Let's see. Go on ahead and make sure if you have any other questions, go on ahead and drop those in the chat there for me. For anybody that's new and just hopping on in, my name is Jelena, and I was diagnosed with stage 3 rectal cancer back in May of 2016. So in this video, I'm answering any questions that you have about palliative care or just about colorectal cancer in general. So if you have any questions, go on ahead and drop them down in the chat for me, and I will do my best to answer them for you, whether it's, about palliative care or just anything about colorectal cancer, the treatment, what to expect, anything like that. Let's see. So we've got someone here from the US. And if you can also just drop in the chat and let me know where you guys are watching from. If you're in the United States, let me know what state that you're here from. If you are out of the country, drop what country that you're in outside of the US for me. We'll see where everybody's joining us from today. Okay, so today we're a little bit slower today and don't have as many questions, which is understandable. About palliative care, it's something that we're not really sure. It's one of those things where you may not really know what to ask if you aren't really in the midst of this, or you don't know what really to expect. Let's see. So, okay, Blue Omega, hello, welcome back again. Did I get any mental health support at the beginning of my surgery? No, I wasn't offered any mental health assistance other than at the beginning where I mentioned, right when I started my radiation and oral chemotherapy, which was the first step in my cancer journey. They had me talk to a social worker for a little bit, and she said she was there if I ever needed to talk to anybody else, but I was like, oh, I'm strong, I don't need any help, I can get through this just fine. And so I never went back and talked to that social worker afterwards, and I just thought that I was just plugging away through treatment, everything was fine, and I didn't need any mental health, I assumed. So I just kind of went through everything, and of course, there were hard times where I'd cry, I'd be sad about what was going on, be angry about why did I end up getting cancer, but didn't let those negative feelings take over. I let them happen and then pushed them away and tried to just keep up with looking forward, trying to get through treatment and knowing that if I made it through, then I would be cancer-free at the end of that treatment. So I was never offered any kind of mental health assistance after that beginning thing. No one ever mentioned to me that I remember. No one ever asked if mentally I was doing fine or if I felt like I needed to talk to anybody. Probably the only place where I actually was asked if anybody in the family needed mental health was actually from my daughter's school. Because she had told her teacher that mommy was diagnosed with cancer. So they had a counselor at the school that would contact us. So the counselor at my daughter's school was actually the professional that reached out to us the most about whether we needed any help or not. And my daughter was fine with just the books that she was reading. She never actually met and sat down with the counselor at all to talk through anything. She was only in kindergarten. She was 5, 6 years old while all of this was happening. So it was a foreign thing to her. And I think she just kind of was rolling with everything and going with the punches as well as we were going through stuff. Let's see here. Other questions that we have. Okay, very good question, Liv. After the diagnosis, do you think colonoscopies should be part of a regular check even before 45 years old? you're seeing it more and more in younger people having it? Yes, it's a very good question. I think for now, 45 is probably a good step forward in acknowledging that this is becoming more and more of a problem in young people. Even though it is definitely on the rise in younger people and you're hearing more and more about younger people, it still is a very small percentage of the cases that are being diagnosed. We just get a little more attention sometimes because it's more of a shock that somebody that's younger or that a woman is getting this disease, because colorectal cancer has traditionally been thought of as an old man's disease. So moving the age down is a good start for letting doctors, health professionals, and the general population know that this is on the rise and that you should maybe be a little more aware. And I think that doctors need to understand more that this is on the rise and not dismiss patients that are coming in and showing some kind of symptoms and immediately like pushing them off and just assuming that like they have a bad diet and that's why they're having these digestive issues, or they've got hemorrhoids because they're a woman and they've had children. They need to take these symptoms more seriously and follow up more with their patients afterwards, like to make sure that whatever you think that it is, that the treatment that you've given to that patient, that it's actually helping them. And if it's not, that you need to dig deeper and not just assume that it's going to go away. So getting understanding out there, and then in the general population, spreading more awareness about this disease and that it's something that is happening to young people and to not think that it can't happen to you, and understanding what those symptoms are, so that you're aware that if your body is experiencing some of these changes, that you need to be proactive and seek some medical help from your doctor to try to pinpoint what exactly is causing these symptoms, because it may or may not be colorectal cancer, but many times whatever it is that's causing these symptoms, you can be treated and they'll figure out what it is and we can ease those symptoms up for you. Let's see here. Okay, so Blue Omega, interesting. You thought that they would have organized periodic mental health checkups. That would have been really helpful. And I think that's a great idea that the doctors definitely should do more often. I think doing something like that, though, probably the reason that a lot of doctors' offices don't is because it costs time and money. Because if you are having mental health troubles, then they're going to need to be able to point you in the right direction to somebody that can help you. So that takes a little bit more work on the oncologist part, or at the cancer center if they have like therapists that specifically deal with oncological patients. That's going to cost the cancer center money. And so it's just kind of more work on their part. And so I think that probably is part of the reason why they're not checking up on you mental health wise all the time. Hopefully that'll change coming up here over the next few years, because mental health is being thrust into the spotlight more and more, and people are becoming more aware that this is something that happens, that most people end up having some kind of struggles at some point during their life, and that it doesn't make you a weaker person because you have mental health issues. It's just the things that are going on in life around you, whatever life has handed you, you just need a little bit of help getting through it. Just like you're not perfectly healthy all the time. People get colds, they get the flu. Like, even though you take as good care of your body as you can, sickness still can get in you, and that doesn't mean that you're weak. It just means that that moment you're a little bit vulnerable and you need a little help. You get back on track and you are back to, your normal self. Okay, let's see here. So what are the best tips you recommend for someone about to or going through similar cancer journeys in regard to obtaining that mental health support? That's a very good question. I would say, let's see, because that's a tricky question as well, because when you're going through this journey, you kind of think that you can do it yourself. And like I mentioned, people think of mental health stuff, if you're having troubles, you're seen as weak, which it shouldn't be. So that's kind of a difficulty. And that was a hurdle that I kind of had to get over too. I kind of got thrust over that hurdle pretty quickly when I started having those panic attacks, and I realized that this was something out of my control and I needed some outside assistance to fix this or help me regain my mental stability again. So I would say definitely hang on to, if you meet with a social worker at the beginning, get a hold of a card or something. I would say that most people do need someone to talk to as they're going through their cancer treatment. Because the cancer diagnosis, it's a traumatic thing. So you may not think that you aren't going to need any help, but eventually it's helpful to just have somebody outside of your family to talk to vent to. So I would say just kind of keep checking in on yourself and see how you're feeling. And then definitely while you're going through treatment, it's a pretty busy time. So I would say once if you are at a point where you finish treatment, take time to kind of mentally reassess yourself and see about maybe just going in and talking to somebody about the journey, about everything that you've been through. At least just 1 or 2 visits just to kind of talk and see where you are, and get some tips or some tools that you can kind of keep in your back pocket that will help you as you're going through and you go through the ups and downs of after treatment. Let's see. Okay. Liv wants to know how long it took for me to see a doctor about my symptoms. That one, it's a trickier question for me because it was kind of up and down the symptoms that I was experiencing. I did have, I had a change in my gas, and that, I just thought it was a weird thing going on with my digestive system. It was maybe something I was eating, or because I, was getting older. As you age, your body changes. So I just thought it was some weird change my body was going through. When I took those probiotics and started bleeding and then stopped, then I thought that it was the probiotics that was causing it. And then the bleeding happened again and again, but it kept stopping and starting. So I didn't have consistent symptoms over those months leading up to my diagnosis. So I went in just for annual physical in February of 2016. And I had been having the weird gas and the off and on bleeding since the June prior to that. So I told my doctor about it and that none of it was happening at that time. So she said, well, come back if it starts happening again and we'll look at it. So then in May, so it had been almost a year off and on that I had been experiencing the symptoms. But May, it came back and more symptoms were added into the mix. So that was when I called my doctor's office, and I believe it was within a week I got in, talked to them. They ran blood tests. They had me do a gluten-free diet. None of those worked. All the blood tests, I came back negative for any kind of food allergies. So then they decided they would send me in for a colonoscopy to see if I had some kind of autoimmune disorder or some kind of GI disease like Crohn's or something like that they could easily diagnose by just going in for a colonoscopy. So beginning of May was when I first started experiencing the symptoms again and called my doctor. By the end of May, I had been in for a colonoscopy and found out that it was cancer. So you could say maybe it was a month or it was 11 months, because the June prior was when I first started feeling those changes and what could have been seen as symptoms for colorectal cancer. But they weren't huge red flags immediately. Like I mentioned, they were kind of off and on, those symptoms. So I didn't feel an urgency to go in and see my doctor and much earlier than when I did go in for the follow-up in May. Let's see. Okay, so Blue Omega also, do you recommend joining other social groups, maybe online communities of other cancer survivors? Do I know of any such communities? Yes, I would definitely recommend doing that. That's a good thing to mention in there. Like when I was diagnosed, I didn't have a family history of colorectal cancer, and I didn't know anybody, like none of my friends had ever had it like in real life. I didn't know of anybody that had been diagnosed with it. So I turned to the internet once I started treatment to try and find out if there were other people that were going through this that were similar to me. So the easiest way to find people, like at the beginning, all I thought of was just like social media. Like I had Facebook, I had kind of dabbled with Instagram a little bit. So I searched, because you can search easily hashtags on Instagram. So I searched for hashtags for rectal cancer, colorectal cancer, and I found people that were on there and were posting about going through their cancer treatment. And so I friended them, I started commenting on their posts and talking about, hey, I'm going through like the same thing. And so then we would message each other. And so that was a really good like starting point for me to find other people. And I found quite a few people even that had been diagnosed like around the same time as me, that were women. And so it made me feel less alone in my journey, knowing that there were other people that looked like me that were going through treatment. Because when I was going into the cancer center, I was the youngest person by far that was going in for treatments, for these appointments. If I saw anybody that was close to my age that was there, they were there with their parent. I didn't see anybody that was my age that was going through treatment. So that felt pretty lonely. So knowing there were others that were like me out there, even though they were in another state, another country, that helped me like feel a bond and a connection and feel like I wasn't going through this alone. Now, since then, I've also found some other places where you can connect with people online. On Facebook, there's a huge community called Colon Town. It's one huge group, and then there's lots of subgroups within there. You have to fill out an application just so that they know you're an actual person to join the community. And then they've got groups for all the stages 1 through 4, specific for like rectal cancer, colon cancer. They've got groups for caretakers, for younger people, for people that have like mets to the liver and stuff. So those were really helpful as I was going through my treatment. Now, after I was finished with treatment, being on Colon Town was not as much of a help for me, because after treatment is over, then I didn't really need like the advice or the people to turn to or hearing about like what I could expect side effect wise from treatments. And so then like at the forefront, it was lots of people talking about like their long-term troubles and having really bad issues long-term, and people that were having recurrences in their cancer. It seemed like every day there was somebody that had their cancer come back. And that's just kind of like the nature of being in a community like that. And there's a lot of people there. So it's not like just 5 people and a lot of those are coming back. There's at least 1,000 or 2 people that are in that community. So that it wasn't really helpful for my mental health for sure afterwards. So I'm still a part of those groups. So if I feel like I need to turn to them, they're there, but I kind of turned off the notifications from them and don't visit them as much anymore because it was detrimental to my mental health. Like seeing all of the bad news, the people that are doing well, they're not really there talking a whole lot because they're doing fine. So they've gotten on with life. There's also the Colorectal Cancer Alliance has a similar thing to Colon Town called Blue Hope Nation on Facebook as well that you can join. So that's another resource that you can use. And like I mentioned, just looking up hashtags on Instagram and on Twitter too. Although Twitter, there's not as much. I feel like Instagram is really the place to connect with people that are like in the cancer community, or if there are other things that you're really interested in. I feel like you get more of a connection and a story with people there versus on Twitter is more just like information. So those are some good starts. Your cancer center may or may not offer anything. At my cancer center, they didn't have anything for young people that were diagnosed with cancer. They didn't even have a colorectal cancer group. It was like breast cancer, caretakers, and that was about it. So I never did any in-person kind of community groups. Let's see here. Any tricks for the colonoscopy prep? That's a very good question. And actually, this upcoming Thursday, I have a colonoscopy scheduled. So I'm going to be doing a video on that on the 23rd of October. I'll be publishing it. So for this upcoming colonoscopy, the prep that I have for this, it is the Miralax prep. So it just has you mix the Miralax, and I don't remember the exact details of it, but I'm going to go through it. They gave me a lot of tips they gave me like a 5-page PDF that they emailed to me of things to eat leading up to it, things that were okay, things that weren't okay. So I sent my husband to the grocery store to get a bunch of stuff because 3 days prior, they want me to do a low residue diet. So I'm not supposed to eat any raw fruits or vegetables during those days. No like gristly meats kind of stuff. Everything is supposed to be pretty bland, pretty gentle on the digestive system. So we've got let's see, Ensure, because that Ensure or the other brand, Boost. The colonoscopy prep info that I got said that I was allowed to drink those drinks up until 4 p.m. the day before my colonoscopy. So usually that day before is just clear liquids. So since the Ensure and Boost have a little more calories, they're meant to be kind of a meal replacement. I got those. So hopefully those will help with the hunger part of getting through that prep, because the previous times that I've done colonoscopy preps, one of the worst parts is that day before the procedure when you aren't allowed to eat anything except for clear liquids. And you're starving. So I hate being hungry. I get hangry, and it's not fun watching everybody around you eat and not being able to eat. So we'll see how the Ensure helps. And then I've got like saltines, white bread, smooth peanut butter and jelly. Cream of wheat was suggested as like a breakfast thing. So I had him buy cream of wheat and some vanilla yogurt that I could mix in with it to kind of sweeten it. I'm trying to think of what else. Just like white pasta you're supposed to eat to help like those 2 days before you start that colonoscopy prep. And then as far as like, once you start taking that prep and your bowels start emptying, make sure you've got some nice soft toilet paper on hand. Even if you don't usually use it, or you've got some people in your house that are pretty wasteful, buy a little small pack of some really soft toilet paper, hide it and keep it for yourself, or carry it around with you while you are going through that prep, because you're going to be going to the bathroom quite a few times, so your butt can get a little tender. It's not so bad that I've ever felt like I need to do like the diaper rash cream and stuff. Usually just some soft toilet paper is okay. And plan on spending some extra time on the toilet, so whatever you want to do to keep yourself busy, if you take your phone in with you, or if you'd rather a book or a magazine, do that. And then I try to like get to bed at a reasonable hour and just sleep through the hunger as well. But then like you've got to get up and you've got to do more of the prep usually early in the morning again. So then that kind of keeps you up for a little longer. So just plan on, the prep part is the worst part of it. The colonoscopy itself, most of the time you're asleep for it. I've never even been given the option to be awake to go through it. So I'm always asleep. So you're out. The worst part once you get there is getting the needle put in. That's like the ouchiest part. And then they give you medication, calm you down, put you to sleep, and then you wake up. I don't think I've even experienced any pain like from the camera going in. I've never had any troubles at all. So those are kind of my tips. And then some people, they're starving and they're ready to eat as much as they can as soon as the colonoscopy prep is over and you're done with the colonoscopy. Once or twice, I think I've been told once or twice that you should eat a light meal just because it can be hard on the digestive system, like eating a huge heavy meal after you've been hungry and had the colonoscopy. But I don't think I've always followed that because I'm starving and I want to have like a big, huge burrito or an omelet when I'm all done. And it's been okay for me. So just kind of listen to your body and kind of know what you think that it's going to be able to handle once you wake up. Let's see. Okay, who else? Okay. Well, I see my sister's joined the chat in there. So I'm so glad that you are helping Liv out there with some of these things. And then my husband John has been in there answering your questions in the chat as well. So let's see. Can you talk about that? Online? Yes. Okay. So I did do that. Okay. Can you talk about the importance of a support system? Yes. So a support system is very important because you can't do this by yourself. There's so much going on, so many appointments, and really leaning on a core group of people that can help you through a cancer treatment it helps you be able to focus and turn all your energy towards getting through treatment and, just recovering from everything that you're going through. It's really hard if you try to do it all by yourself and you're going to your appointments, you're trying to deal with the finance part. If you've got like kids, trying to deal with childcare and all of that. There's a lot of pieces when you're going through cancer treatment. It is crucial. And even just having a huge support system of like your core, really close people that you always know that you can turn to, like a spouse, parents, if you're older, if you've got like adult kids or teenage kids that can really help you out, the best friend that lives across the street kind of thing. You want to have like definitely a core group of support people that you can call on. And if you can have more than just one person, it's helpful too, because the caretakers and your caregivers are going through a lot mentally as well. It's devastating to them seeing somebody that they love going through cancer treatment. So they need a little bit of help as well. And they can't even carry the burden of taking care of you going through this. So if you can have a couple of really close people and then maybe like another ring a little further out of people that you can turn to, like for a meal train, having some people that were willing to just like bring you a meal or, give you a gift card for something, bring some cookies, or some parents that will be willing to just have your kid come over and play for a long afternoon while you rest from treatment. But not necessarily those people that you would call like at 3 a.m. if you're having a problem. So having like the multi-ringed system of people is really helpful, because it takes a village. Just like raising a kid, it takes a village to get a person through cancer treatment. And I was thinking of something while I was talking about the rings, and then I've lost my train of thought. Shoot, what was I don't remember. I'm sorry. But yes, having like the multi-layers of people to support you. Oh, I remember what I was going to say. When people hear that like a friend, a close friend, or even like a neighbor or something has been diagnosed with cancer, most people, they want to get out. They really want to help that person that's been diagnosed with cancer. It's kind of like that big thing that people know you're going to need help. So people are typically, really excited to try and help, even if it's something small. So let those people help you, even if it's just a small thing. The more people that are bringing these small things, then that turns into like one huge thing for you. So don't be afraid to reach out for support, and try to make that support system as big as you can. So then you're not putting that burden on just one person. It's kind of spread out. So let's see. Liv also wants to know, is there any food that I stopped eating? That's a good question. Since I had an ileostomy and it's been reversed, it has been 3 years since my ileostomy has been reversed, but I do still have troubles. I'm still taking medication daily. I take psyllium husk in the morning. I take an Imodium in the morning and the evening. I take like a high potency probiotic. But doing those things pretty much kind of keeps me feeling like I'm decently regular. I mean, I'm still going to the bathroom. Probably have bowel movement like 3 to 4 times a day on average, which is definitely more than usual. I was usually like a one and done kind of person before. But the 3 to 4 times, it is kind of gotten to feel like that's my new normal, and I have kind of accepted that that is how it's going to be. So that doesn't really bother me a whole lot anymore, going that many times. There isn't anything that I have completely stopped eating. There are things that I won't eat frequently, like day after day after day, that I know are going to cause me to have to go to the bathroom, or that it's just going to come straight out of me. Like corn is one of those things. Lentils, if you're eating meals heavy in lentils, those can go straight through. I've tried chewing things up super well, and that doesn't really seem to help as far as like the lentils and the corn stuff goes. I still avoid like the veggie tray when you're going out to gatherings. Well, I mean, I avoid any food at gatherings right now because of COVID. But before COVID, like, when you'd go out to parties and there'd be the vegetable trays out, I would typically, I don't eat much off of it at all. I'll maybe eat a carrot or two, maybe a little snap pea, but I can't go crazy with the raw veggies because those will make me go a lot as well. They need to be cooked. I can't have salads typically. I'm not sure. Maybe because it's kind of cut up a little more. I don't know why salads are okay, but then just going to town on a veggie tray is not so good. And that's one of those things where you just kind of have to experiment by trial and error and figure out what works and what doesn't for you. Now, at the beginning, salads were not my friend. Shortly after my reversal surgery, I decided that summer, once I started feeling a little bit better, it was going to be like the summer for me to spend time with my daughter, because the summer before had basically been robbed of me because I was going through radiation and chemo over the summer, and then I was healing, and then she was off to school. So I feel like the whole summer we didn't really get to spend a whole lot of time. So we spent like once a week we went and did like something special. Like we drove up to a museum, went to like botanic gardens. So before we went to the aquarium, we stopped at her favorite place, Sweet Tomatoes, which sadly is no more because buffets are not a good business plan right now. So if you've never heard of Sweet Tomatoes, it's just a basically salad bar buffet place. They also have like some soups and salads and stuff, but there's the buffet of the salad bar. So I'd always get like a huge salad. and I had a huge salad, and then at the aquarium, I had to go to the bathroom like 5-6 times, and we were running, hurrying from an exhibit to get to the bathroom, and just spending a lot of time in there. So I learned right after surgery, huge salads were not a good idea. But I'm better with salads now. Do I eat less now or smaller portions? I do, for the most part. I am eating a little bit less than I used to. I think part of it was that I haven't really gotten full-blown back into like running and being as active as I was before treatment, because I have noticed like in the last month or two, I started a weight training program. So once I started lifting weights, I did notice that my appetite kind of went up a little more. So being more active kind of helps to increase your appetite. And so I'd say I do eat a little bit less, but it's not a whole lot. I still eat about the same portion size of things that I used to eat before. So that part hasn't changed too much. I just have to kind of constantly watch and make sure that I'm not eating like way too many things that are full of fiber, because those will definitely aggravate my system. So let's see here. Had some great questions in the chat. Great talking in the chat. I don't know if I missed any questions in here. I hope I answered all of your questions in there. I think I covered them all. So thank you guys all for all your great questions. Let's see. I hope you learned a little something new. And so I think that's about all that I've got for today. So for anybody that's new here, if you haven't subscribed, you can go on ahead and you can click on the subscribe button down below here. And then make sure that you've clicked on the bell so that you get the notifications when I post a new video and then when I go live again. So thank you all for watching. Thank you guys for joining me. Thanks for having such great questions. And I hope to see you guys again here soon. Take care and enjoy the rest of your weekend.